Today, it is time to talk about Gangwon Province and Jeju Island. I will talk about Gangwon Province and Jeju Island. First, let's take a look at Gangwon Province. As you can see, the update date is August 11th. All the latest data was updated on August 11th. Hello, Taiwan. Currently, the investment score for Gangwon Province is quite low, around 57 points. A score of 57 is just slightly above the waist, so it is still somewhat overvalued at the moment. I think the last time I held a paid lecture was in early 2020, just before the outbreak of COVID-19. So back then, there was really an opportunity to buy at a time when it was uncertain whether it would be 10 years of cancer or not. So that time was right then. I thought it would be good to make some purchases in Gangwon Province. At that time, I believe I was receiving around 1 million won for each lecture. At that time, I gave a lecture for about 2 or 3 hours, and I talked about promising areas where buying an apartment would be really beneficial, one of which was Gangwon Province. So I think I mentioned Gangneung in Gangwon Province back then, and I remember a comment from someone who took the lecture and bought a property. They expressed immense gratitude, saying they had already made a significant profit in just 4 or 5 months. At that time, various data were good, but if it was invested, it scored 70 points. So at 70 points, it was considered a bottom. At that level, it was just a matter of buying, but now it is not very good. A score of around 57 is quite low. It's nice to see you, Bingle. Gangwon Province is currently showing a slight downward trend overall. There is almost no change in prices. However, one fortunate thing is that the undervaluation of Jeonse in Gangwon Province is only 1.9%. Therefore, compared to the actual rental value, there is almost no bubble in the sale price, making it the best in the country. In terms of the national standard, it is the region that is relatively the least overvalued compared to Jeonse. Relatively, there are areas that are not highly valued, and the situation in Seoul, Sejong, and Gyeonggi Province is serious. 60%, 50%, 40%. Many people sing praises of Seoul, the metropolitan area. It continues to be good, but that's true. That's why. The Jeonse prices in Seoul and the metropolitan area are high. So, you can consider this Jeonse price as the essence. However, compared to this essence of Jeonse, the sale prices are excessively inflated, which is why the undervaluation of Jeonse is so high. It seems that the supply and demand, as well as transactions, have started to decline, and prices may begin to drop around mid to late September, possibly around October. However, since there is a lot of speculation right now, there is a very high possibility that this bubble will significantly deflate within the next 1 to 2 years. It is very high. If that happens, the sale prices will drop significantly compared to the actual Jeonse being used. Next, the Housing Purchase Burden Index in Gangwon Province is around 66. It's really high, isn't it? Looking at this, we can clearly see how abnormal the real estate market was during COVID-19 through this data. If it weren't for COVID-19, this kind of increase would never have happened. This kind of increase would absolutely not have happened. Yes, it absolutely would not have happened. In a few years, say 5 or 10 years from now, when we look at the data over a much longer term, many people will probably feel that it was truly a time when everyone was crazy about real estate, like a double-edged sword. Right now, because we are in the midst of it, it seems that many people do not realize this. It's 66. The average value is 53. The low point is around 50, which is when I suggested buying back in early 2020. So, how much is that? To reach the average, prices need to drop by about 20 to 25%. If they are to fall to this level, a decrease of around 20% is necessary, and to reach the lower point, a drop of about 25% is required. However, if prices fall to that level, they would be around 44, which means they would need to decrease by more than 20 to 30%. Therefore, it is clear that there is still a significant amount of bubble in the Housing Purchase Burden Index in Gangwon Province. Considering people's incomes and loan interest rates, we are living in a world where housing prices are excessively high. That's why people can't buy homes. There are hardly any who can. However, the government has implemented special measures to buy time for companies such as PF, construction firms, developers, and financial institutions in order to prevent them from failing and causing a significant economic collapse. This has led to an abnormal short-term rebound in the market. You can consider this to be nearing its end. Next, consider it in relation to income. It is currently too expensive. Apartments in Gangwon Province used to be less than 3 times the income. The average is 3.6 times, and it is still high now at 4.6 times. This means that apartments in Gangwon province are too expensive compared to our income. And if real estate prices are so high, who would want to get married? And who would want to work hard? Everyone should be crazy about real estate. That's why such excessively high real estate prices cannot be a solution for the economy of South Korea and the lives of its citizens. Therefore, this needs to come down a bit, and if you look at this, those who have been watching me for a long time will remember when I advised to buy. I invested a lot in the fall of 2019. At that time, I made investments in undervalued regions, and I often mentioned that we needed to seize the real estate market in these undervalued areas. From the fall of 2019 to early 2020, the returns have also increased significantly. At that time, the PER was 3.5. Now it is 4.6. So it should still drop by about 23%. Even looking at this, it seems that a correction of over 20% is necessary for us to have a good timing to make a purchase. In the case of Gangwon province, the rental yield is 4%, which is slightly better than bank interest rates. It has now recovered to a certain extent. Chungcheongnam-do has the highest rental yield. I have mentioned several times that I view Chungcheongnam-do as a very promising area. Areas like Chungcheongnam-do, Gyeongsangbuk-do, Jeollabuk-do, Chuncheon, and Jeollanam-do have good rental yields. The Jones price ratio in Gangwon province is 76%. This is quite high. At this level, it can be considered sufficient for gap investment. Now let's take a look at the unsold inventory in Gangwon province.